Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to our meeting on June 24th, and I'll now officially call the meeting to order, and the time is at 1 o'clock. Before we proceed, I would like to introduce Mike Rutter, our new CAO. Mike has worked in the township in the past, and it's like sort of a circle of life. You're coming back around. Mike's very experienced, counselors. Mike, would you care to share a word or?
Would you like me to stand?
Sure, whatever.
I didn't really come prepared with anything.
No.
I'm really looking forward to this. It is a little bit of a coming back around kind of situation, but I know a number of your staff already, and I'm really looking forward to working with them and the council. The role of a CAO is really a different one, right? It's just helping you get moving where you want to go and making sure staff have the tools to get the job done. So I look forward to doing that. I look forward to working with all of you and I hope that it will be a successful tenure along in my life.
Thank you very much, Mike. We'll now move along to our land acknowledgement and then a moment of silent reflection. I will now ask members to declare any pecuniary interest before council. So,
I'll be declaring R4 as
R4. Any others? No? Okay, may I get a motion for approve today's agenda, please? Councilor Ward.
circular.
As circulated. Councilor Hodge-Greaves. All in favor? Motion's carried. I'm looking for a motion to adopt the regular meeting minutes of June 10th and the emergency and special meeting minutes of June 12th as presented or amended. Councilor Walsh. Deputy Mayor Burt. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Motion's carried. Do we have any business arising from the minutes? Moving along to the consent agenda, we have correspondence items C1 through C7, staff report R1, and the minutes from the Special Advisory Committee, Special Events Committee, and Library Board. Do we have somebody to approve as circulated or as amended? Councilor Ward?
Circulated with comment on C2.
C2. And seconder, Councilor Walsh.
Yeah, with a comment on C3, C5.
C3, C5.
And can I have a comment about that?
Yes,
If I could pull C7 at the time.
C7. All right. We'll start with C2.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. And a question to you and the Deputy Mayor. C2 is correspondence that led to Hero County regarding the AI chatbot. And there is a lot of misinformation that is circulated through many different channels. And I was just wondering what the conversation was around the county table, because I think that's where it needs to start.
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, so this was brought up at our previous meeting, and these are articles from, Maggie Braun, we've been getting daily, almost daily, for many, many months. I have unsubscribed in the past, and then they seem to keep popping up. And basically it was just being aware of that, and that these that they're probably more than this one we've been getting. And just more or less to be aware of that, and it's up to us, all of us collectively, to do our due diligence. So this is just bringing it to light. I think all of us around this room received another email from the Maggie Braun, right?
Yes.
Defending her issues, and certainly we're not saying you can't read them, just being aware and doing your due diligence. So that's kind of what came forward in the meeting. So.
It's just that there is a lot of misinformation out there, and some councils are at.
Yeah, so I think it's important that we're aware of that.
Thank you.
Council Bowles, C3.
Yeah, just regarding C3 and C5, it's just really in around the adoption of Bill 17. I did speak to our chief building inspector. I guess the concern is, especially around the BC charges, and the movement that those will not get paid going forward until occupancy, which really is at the very back end. Somebody could be in their house quite some time before they actually get their occupancy permit, which means we're kind of on the hook to fund all that. So it's really quite a change in our cash flow from having an agreement, securing some funding up front, to potentially it all being at the back end. So I'm not sure, I read the county one, I read AMO, I'm not sure whether it's worth it, but should we be sending in a response to our MPP saying, we got definitely got concerns with it.
By all means, I think a letter should be for blind PP, if you want to make that a motion after this.
Yeah, I'll make that a motion, general business.
Deputy Member.
Thank you. Yeah, just to comment on that, the mayor and I brought that forward at the last meeting, that letter was coming. So I'm glad it was included in here, so you got to see that in full on the C3 report. And yeah, that's a concern. There are some other ones, but that is the main concern. And maybe it's something that I can't say that we're not the only municipality in the hall, gotta be in the same boat, especially small ones. So probably the more letters to our MPP and Ministry of Infrastructure and whoever else you think it should go to, I think it would be helpful.
I think so.
I will second that. Sure, it wasn't.
In general.
Okay.
C5, you mentioned to Councillor Walsh, which was to do with Bill.
They were tied together.
C7.
Yeah, just in the AMO thing, there was a part under the municipal wire. The Ducks Unlimited has resources available to municipalities for stormwater facilities, into turning them into natural assets and habitat restoration. And I don't think from a township perspective, we've ever done that. Certainly at our farm, we've done probably 2 or 3 Ducks Unlimited projects, and they're very good to deal with. Cost sharing is decent. So I'm just wondering, as we go into the budget season, if those of you who need to know, whether we need to do something with our stormwater ponds, or as we grow and are creating new ones, it might be something to look into if we need some restoration projects for plantings or whatever. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because they are very good to deal with. So something we'll think about.
All right. Any further comments? All in favor of that motion? Motion is carried. Moving along to R1. Our chief building official and interim CAO. That's not being presented. Sorry about that. Delegations and presentations today, so we'll move right into the staff reports. R2, Daryl Payne, Fire Chief Storm update, please.
Through you, Mayor. So this report was composed by all the managers of the divisions of the township that responded to the ice storm. A couple that are not have been in the report that should be mentioned, have to be mentioned, are the girls in the office. They handled all their social media, they took the phone calls, they directed people what to do. So that was, I apologize for not having them in there, but they were an integral part in our library, so also helped out, so they should be noticed otherwise. So each manager gave in the major points that we thought were relevant, that council should know. And there are hundreds of things that were done that's not in this report. So this is just a simplified version on during the ice storm. So we broke it down to emergency management. Any questions on emergency management?
Questions? No?
CEMC and alternate CEMC. There were meetings every night of the week of the storm and the week after. Jordan and I could not make them all, but we did our best because we were busy at the time. And that was happening throughout the county and the city. Fire department. Any questions on the fire department?
No questions, just glad to see they helped out the
No.
public works
Well-
and the rec and parks. Yes,
Carol, through that, and it is in here later, what is considered eligible expenses versus
yeah,
ineligible. But the fire department helped out, not really doing, I'll call it firework, they were helping public works clear roads. Is that considered an incremental cost, because they normally would not be doing that, or is that a real gray area?
That is a gray area. We may apply and be rejected,
Okay,
but I'm sure Jordan will do his best to get everything we get out of it, so.
because it just, we couldn't have done all the work that we've done with that.
That's right.
But it really isn't what they would normally be
No.
hired as a volunteer firefighter.
That's right.
Definitely needed them, and in my mind, I think I'm sure council would agree that shouldn't be covered by us.
Yeah. So, yeah, and these people and their families were affected at the same time by the storm. They took their time out to do that, so. So kudos to the guys in the department and all the folks. Water, wastewater. Public works.
I do have one question on wastewater. I noticed, Adam, that you had a hard time because of communication. With getting somebody for the Belmont station to get it pumped.
Yeah.
Do you have something in line now if communication is lost again? That you'll be able to get a hold of somebody in a little quicker time?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I actually have not into that yet. That is on.
Public works, environmental services. Community center parks and facilities.
Well.
It's going pretty good. Financial implications.
Yes, sorry, Councilor Ward.
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor. I was gonna wait to the end, but since it's in the finance part, I was just curious because if the 3% and the county has confirmed with MVP David Smith, but we all have David Puccini, so we're, two different things. That kind of affect our 3%, the county, like I know we're in Peterborough County, but two different representations from the provincial government. When I see that, the confirmation from MVP David Smith's office should also include David Puccini's office in that. And there was one other thing with the expenses and eligibility, just while we're on this topic. I saw that other municipalities had been able to get a hydro grant. I saw that Crammy and there was a few other different, Selwyn, and I think, I want to say Millbrook. They were granted that last week or the week before. I saw it in some of their council reports. And I was just wondering if it was something that we had applied to, or we just missed looking at that, or if it's something that we can do in the future. I want to say Crammy got about 14,000. I'd have to go back and look, but they were just awarded that for storm damage. I saw the council minutes. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that up because it might be some more funding if we have some offset. And those are my only two comments. Sorry.
Jordan, you wanted to comment on?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. So I have a couple updates. The report was submitted to Mel Wednesday. I was off on Thursday and Friday. Friday, we received an update from the province. So some of the information in the report isn't accurate. The MDRA, Municipal Disaster Recovery Assistance Program, was what was used previously. As of Friday, they've changed the name to the MISA, the Municipal Ice Storm Association. So for the most part, everything in the previous funding program that's in the report is accurate with the new MISA one. The 3% is waived for all municipalities in the impacted area of the ISO. So your question about Mr. Pacini's office and getting approval, we won't need to do that. It's gonna be-
Sorry, if I may follow up
Yes.
to Jordan. So Jordan, do you know if any funding has been put forward to the hydro grant? Do you know if any?
No, I wasn't aware of it, but I'll look into it.
Okay, that was the second part.
See what assumptions are.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all.
Okay.
Through you, Mayor, I have a couple more updates on the financial side. So, as was mentioned in the report, our expenses incurred to date are roughly 99,000. We're estimating approximately 58,000 in future costs. So this is brush grinding, some additional danger tree cleanup in some of our parks. We intend to submit for all of those. If all are deemed eligible, we're anticipating about $125,000 funding. We'll get back, which would be tax base within a month for approximately $42,000. The information we got on Friday with the name change, there was also changes to the deadline. So the July 28th deadline, which we were originally informed was our deadline for submitting the application. That is now a deadline for an expression interest survey that I will submit. Essentially, we have to go through, fill it in. Make sure that they're aware that we're intending to apply, that we've done our due diligence with what we've spent, will be eligible. Our future costs are eligible. Once that goes in, they review it, and then they send us the application forms. The application then isn't due until October 31st. So potentially you may see me back with another report at some point between now and the 31st with updated costs and an updated report, if that's all right.
Deputy member,
Thank you for command. So just for clarification, so if those numbers change, especially on the estimated future expenses between the first expression of interest to the deadline, that's okay. They're not really holding you to those numbers if you find that there's other expenses that could be incurred.
Through you, Mayor. My understanding is yes. Obviously, we'll push out our application deadline a little bit later. If there's anything else that does come up. There is an information session on July 7th. I think it's a Monday that I plan to attend, in which we will ask those questions and.
Council Walsh.
So just building on, Deputy Member, so the deadline now extends October 31st. The chance of actually receiving payment in 2025 are probably nil to zero.
Through you, Mayor, yes, that's one of the negatives with the new information. In having some back and forth regarding our claim from 2022 for the tobacco. I wonder if they push the application deadline out a little bit in order to help with the accuracy of claims and get away from future expenses that maybe municipalities didn't incur, or there were changes or additional costing. That wasn't part of the original agreement that they did. I wasn't here in 2022, can't speak for the deadline at that time, but I think by them pushing it out about 6 months from the date of the storm, it's a little bit more time to do something not necessary.
Which maybe is.
We're getting more accurate.
A good thing, I guess, more accurate versus kind of, pulling numbers out of the air or something. Okay.
Deputy Member, you had
Yeah, just another comment, I just had in my notes here, thank you very much to all the staff and managers, because it was a very detailed report, we knew a lot of stuff was going on. We, to see it detailed, and as our chief said, there's a whole lot more going on, either, beyond the report, so, I think all of us are in the same boat. Thank you very much, because this is an important, report for us and for the public to see too, because, you know, we all get complaints from the public. Well, you know what, here's what staff and managers did. So just a comment that, we appreciate the reports.
Daryl?
So just in, to you, Mayor, just in conclusion, our smallest township in Peterborough County, we did a heck of a job.
Definitely,
Everybody worked together,
yes.
we got the job done, and I think our residents are quite safe and happy about it, so. I'm gonna pat everybody on the shoulder in here, and thank you very much, we did
And
a great
even
job.
past councils, making the move to have generators in a lot of places that,
We learned that through the Directo.
and there's still townships in Peterborough County that don't have those generators. And they're now looking at it off.
This final comment, and I think just to build on that, we learned a lot from the Greco as well. You know, it was nice to see this building open for people this time around. Having came in one evening and seen people that had no hydro, no way of getting food. That was a great little step, and I'm sure some departments have done things differently this time that they learned from the last time. and We'll keep learning, but yeah, I'll just echo every effort. Thank you to all of you. Amazing job done. Something we can plan for. Hopefully we don't have another one again, but based on weather, we know that that's not the case, so. Well done.
And it's amazing, a small town mentality, everybody got to help the neighbors.
Exactly.
And you can see that. So it's gratifying.
Deputy Mayor,
Yeah.
yes.
Just one more question. When we had a road tour, you had mentioned the communications and how we've got the new tower and all of that, and the communications stayed up for.
Our wages work as a
Yeah,
generator.
and that was the only one within the county, correct?
Yes,
So have you had other townships or municipalities
I
come
think
to
that
you?
rethinking what their priorities are.
Okay, because that was, when we went to that emergency services meeting, that was probably the number one concern. There were no communications, so I would imagine you might be getting some.
It was sort of
calls.
nice when we could sit back and smile that we had it.
Yeah, yeah.
So comparing the Directo and the ice storm, Bell Mobility still lets us down. Our
Exactly.
number one communications provider is not prepared for emergency situations. And I recommend the council start writing letters. Put their own piece, make these guys who make all the money, put money back into their system so it works when we need it the most.
Right. Councilor Ward?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. If I have one more question, I agree, there's still a lot of lumber on some of those bell lines, communication lines. But what I wanted to just ask, in the event of communication network failures, like we talked about, different boards and stuff like that, I agree. The only question I have is about local service clubs. And I agree that they could be of great assistance in this, but I was wondering about liability with insurance of having, like say something, if you have an example of Lions Club going door to door in the event of a communication network failure, and what that would imply for the township, because even our committees, we have to go through training and we have to go through all of that. And I would love, I'm sorry, we just live in a world now that there's there's always something ready to happen, or someone's going to sue you or whatever. So I was just curious if there should be some more investigation in putting local service clubs going door to door. I agree, when we have like disasters, we need every person that can help, but I'm a little concerned about putting them in without any, I don't know, WSIB or any of that stuff that may impact the future of the township. Sorry, Debbie Downer.
No, by all means, because like it was ice, and if you would have had them out walking in ice and somebody falls, who's covering that? Seamus, have you got a?
Where, police, I don't know if it's passing on, but wasn't there a volunteer protocol, which we could look at potentially adding another category for emergencies, and people volunteer to be on committees or boards and do their training through that way, and then they kind of follow the proper channels.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it needs to be, a little bit more of what the protocol would be, using these volunteer groups, whether it be the Legion, Lions, whatever it is. I just think, if there is a volunteer sign up, that we just need to flesh it out a little bit more. That's all. Thank you.
Anything further, Daryl? No. Thank you very much. And Jordan? Council, may I get a motion to receive this report for information? And further, council acknowledges the township has incurred eligible costs directly related to the March 2025 ice storm and hereby request financial assistance under the municipal ice storm assistance program. And further, that the treasurer be delegated the authority to verify and attest to the accuracy of the application package submitted under the program. Deputy Mayor Burt, Councillor Walsh, any further discussions? All in favor? Motion's carried. Moving along to R2. Public Works Manager, Environmental Services, Jeff Walden, you have the floor.
Great, thank you, Mayor and Council. So this, the tractor mounted, tractor backhoe mounted pickup ring has been, kind of a thorn in my side since July 15th, almost a year since I did that. It's sort of, anyways, we worked diligently all fall, when I first came back last summer, talking with the staff, what's working, what's not, and just trying to get my bearings again. One of the complaints were the broom that sits in the shop that nobody could use. It was bought with the new tractor backhoe in 2023 as a replacement. A lot of different issues. I think the anticipation was to maybe participate with more street sweeping in-house with it, but it just wasn't meeting the needs. And the biggest thing is we couldn't dump into a truck. It fills up relatively quickly and we had no way. So last fall, I took it out just to see with my own eyes and experience and just put a bit of a think tank to it, and the staff was wrong. It just didn't meet our needs. So we immediately kind of swung over to the vendor and started having conversations about it. And I had almost written them off. We tried it again this spring and it wasn't working for us. The vendor was very unresponsive, and then they just about 3 weeks ago came back to the table with the proposal of an even trade. So because it is used and it does have a bit of depreciation on it, because we did have it, and it's not brand new and shiny anymore, we do take a hit of $4,000. But I do feel it's a reasonable even trade, and they are outfitting the backhoe. There's some plumbing for the hydraulics and some coupling issues that they'll have to change, and so they will do that at their cost just for the time that it's taken. They do feel bad, but everything has to go higher than Peterborough, so it's just a little while we get up the corporate ladder to get to the right people. So that's where the time was lost. So we were almost a year, but we got there, and I do feel it's a reasonable proposition. And as I explained in the report, the spring sweeping did take us a little longer this year with the skid steer. So this will definitely pick up the pace for us and get us back more efficient, that's for sure. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Deputy Mayor Burt?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thanks for doing this, Jeff. I find it interesting that we didn't really hear about this. We had it for a good year or so and we didn't hear about it. So obviously, if you have a piece of equipment that's brand new that you don't use, for various reasons, something needs to be done. So I appreciate you going through this. Sorry it took a year to do it, but I was, when I saw this report, I was surprised that I think that's very fair. And hopefully next year the sweeping will be easier and quicker. So thank you.
Through you, Mary. It was actually nice. Just today, I had an angle broom on the whiteboard in our budget stuff, so I actually wiped it off. It was nice to do that.
Good job.
Yes.
Jordan will be happy.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh.
With that new broom, Jeff, do you think we will be able to do some of our own street sweeping versus having it,
Through you, Mayor, the problem with the curb and gutter is you need that. It's almost like a Zamboni is the best example. The gutter broom that like the Zamboni has that pulls the stuff out of our curbs. An angle broom, either or of these models, the pickup or it can't get over close to the curb. The housing of the unit is probably 12 inches outside the bristles and it bumps the curb, so they're not a practical limits.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Okay, thank you, Jeff. I'll read the recommended motion that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood receives this report for information, and further that the council acknowledges that the pickup room does not meet the operational needs of the Public Works Department. Further, that the council directs staff to proceed with an even exchange of the pickup room for more suitable rotary angle rooms. with Tormont, Cat, Peterborough at no additional cost to the township. Mover, Counselor Hodge-Greaves, and seconder, Counselor Walsh. All in favor? Motion's carried. Deputy Mayor Burt's leaving the room. And all right, Jeff, we'll let you continue on, please, with our four.
Great, thank you, through you, Mayor. I guess the basis of this report is we kind of, we touched base on it on our road tour, with boots on the ground, and I thought it was the time to maybe bring it forward and, put it on paper. And, you know, just kind of show the direction moving forward. So we're all well aware between the 6th and 4th lines, the River Road is very narrow and, it's not within compliance for our standards. The provincial standards are 7 meters to 3.5 meter lanes, and we don't have that on River Road, and we're all very well aware. I did put the excerpt from Forest Road, the legal description. We are responsible for the roadway, and we do accept all the liability on a forest road. So I think there's been some maybe misinterpretation with landowners that, you know, they're on the hook as well, with not so much. We do accept all the liability, and we have that 1% stature that, that's all they have to find. So with knowing that the width of the road is, it's substandard, that's a huge thing for us. So I think we're also well aware River Road has a lot of history on it, and it's gone back, and I'm happy to kind of announce as the day of our road tour that we've made some great steps with the landowner that owns the primary both sides of the road for the majority of the stretch. So it has been great, and I think, you know, I think it's been great not to be, it's not an aggressive approach. We're just taking our time and trying to sort through what's best for both parties. And kind of the basis of today was just to actually get the actual support of council just to continue with that relationship and trying to get the common goal of making River Road a compliant road and safe feature. I think as discussed, the day of our road tour, kind of the how we're attacking it is, you know, we don't maybe need the 66-foot road lots. If we can, we'll try to find that common number. That's kind of our next step. I have another meeting with the landowner, hopefully this week, if not next week. And we just need to find that number that's gonna work on the whole stretch of road and move forward with that. And then we'll just keep nurturing the relationship along until we get that common goal. So I think it's been very positive in the past few months. And yeah, so that's kind of the section from the 6th to the 4th, just as an official update of what we're doing there and moving forward. And I think we did dabble a little bit again with the rest of River Road from 4th or Humphreys Line over to Birdsall's. Discussion about, even in my past life here, it was always a ticking time bomb in the winter time. It's the unmaintained portion of it. No winter maintenance. It's maintained for 6 months of the year, and then 6 months of the year there's no maintenance. I myself have been called out after hours by the OPP, stranded cars. They drive by the sign. I think a lot of the problem is Google Maps. They don't realize that, you know, it's not maintained in the winter time. It's not plowed, and they drive by the big sign that says it's not plowed, but we're still, you know, carry a lot of liability. I think a prime example was, I'm sure everybody remembers, probably 25 years ago, the Durgammer case up on the Rusaw Road, with the girls that were stranded that year. And I remember, as plain as day, there was no snow that year, but it was probably -30 and the same situation. It's not maintained. It's worse shape than River Road, but nonetheless, it carries the same amount of liability. So anyways, again, just to make it official in front of council at this table today, you know, I like the support to continue maybe looking at some kind of a closure for the winter, more official, where it's stated. We did discuss something like the snowmobile clubs use. You can still have access for maybe a side-by-side or a snowmobile or something like that that's equipped to deal with winter, not so much on city. I think so. It's so yeah, that's it. Just to make it official from our discussions from the road tours.
Okay, Counselor Hodge-Greaves.
Through you, Mayor, after our road tour, I was thinking, is there a way there must be a way on Google Maps to say the road's closed. Have we ever investigated that for the winter? I mean, I am not techie enough, but I believe that exists. So should we investigate that somehow?
No.
Telling Google and Apple Maps that the road is closed? as an extra, I agree that it needs gates. Some of the stories that were told during the rush were quite disturbing and scary. But I do wonder if that's something that should be looked at. I don't know who would be the best person to look into that as the IT person perhaps.
I was just gonna say.
All right,
yes,
because I think that it must be, it must be possible.
Well, that's,
And then that would perhaps limit non-locals from that, so that's something to perhaps consider.
you write that down now, that's Mike, IT, thank you.
Yeah, no, through your, that's an excellent point. I'm sure the technology's out there for sure. And what made me think of it, personal story, my wife and I last year were in North Fourth and Google Maps was taking us on Talon Lake Road and, Barry's a snowmobile. I don't know if you've ever been across Talon Lake Road, but it turns into a snowmobile trail and that's how it was trying to take us to 28. So it does happen for sure.
Counselor Ward.
Thank you, through the mayor. Thank you for the report. I think it's timely. And it's nice that we're making some progress with the landowners along River Road. Next steps, if the gates do go up, which I think is a good idea. So would there be a key for the landowners, especially with the ones that on both sides of the road that may be doing some logging, like, you know, go down to Cutwood? So would they have a key to be able to access because they do own both sides of that forest road? And the other one, so if we're looking between the fourth and the fifth concession, so with the first primary goal on that road would be after the curve, the hill, the blind hill. Would that be the first one? And would we have to have a survey to do that?
Through your mayor, yeah, I think, currently, I was just over this morning, actually, the fences look like they would potentially be back far enough to maybe do something on that particular hill.
Yeah.
I'd like to look at the consistency first and just, like I said, I'm just pulling this number, if it's 50 feet everywhere, and then we just keep that, so we're not 30 here, 40 here, you know what I mean? So I think,
It's just such a pretty road.
it is,
It's a beautiful.
So was the golf course road.
it's still a beautiful,
Yes.
yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying for sure, and to circle back to the gauge question. That's how I would see it unfold. I think, any, landowners or parties adjacent to the edge of the road would definitely have a key, and of course, the fire department, emergency services, and then, and any special needs, you know, if something was happening and they needed us to open it, then, I think with the understanding that it's closed at night or whatever, but no, I think that's how I would see. There's still a lot of legwork to do there. There's a lot of landowners.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, thank goodness it is big tracts of land where it's not 51 acre lots. It's, you know,
No.
so that'll be, so hopefully, yeah, hopefully the legwork goes well and as we move along, but for sure, everybody will have access to these access.
Just a couple comments myself. I think part of the road is surveyed, Jeff. I'm not 100% sure on the north side. Was that done a few years ago?
There is some property bars on the north side of River Road from the fifth line, between the fifth and fourth. There is
Right.
some property bars there, so.
Right. And secondly, thankfully, you're getting along with the neighbors down there. I don't think they've had the cooperation in the past that they're getting right now. So thank you for that. Councilor Walsh.
Yeah, just through you, Mayor, and it's just regarding that between the fourth and Birdsall and the gating on it, like, what's the process to do that? Like, would we have to send out letters to the adjoining, you know, to the landowners in that area that, you know, we're seriously thinking about making this road closed for the winter, or gating it, you would receive a key, like, how does that process gonna work? Is that too early in pre, kind of know how that would all go?
Yeah, I think through your mayor, I think there's two ways to look at it. I think sometimes it's better to have everybody in the same room, whether we invite them to a PIC potentially in Westwood at the library, something like that. There won't be many people there, and then everybody's at the same.
Yeah, same page.
And you can hear it all at the same time, or secondly, even if a PIC was to take place, I really had no issues meeting one-on-one and any concerns.
Yeah, there's not a lot through there, but just, like, I think between the boundary and the second, there's basically nobody.
No, that's right.
Between the second and third, there's a house just on the second, it's either gated past is there a laneway on
There's
38, or is it on that, I forget, but you gated after, in that case, you gated after that.
Absolutely, and I think that's a good point to bring up with between the second and Birdsall's, because that is maintained all winter currently. I would potentially propose to close it because there's nothing on it, but I think you would have to word it, I think the concern would come from anybody that wanted to potentially sever a building lot. Because of course, that's one of the boxes to check, is it maintained year round? So I think we have to be open to potentially, currently we would close it because basically everything else is closed and there's no residents on it. But if somebody were to ever potentially sever a building lot, chances are we might bring it back to life, because we don't want to hold up any, potential future plans with family or development. So,
Okay, thanks, Tim.
All right, thank you, Jeff, for that report, and I'll read the recommended motion. That the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report for information, and further that the council supports staff in engaging with the affected landowners to collaboratively develop and shared objective to improve safety. And further that the council directs staff to continue researching alternatives to improve safety on the seasonal portion of River Road. Councillor Ward, seconder, Councillor Walsh. All in favor? Motion is carried. We get, let Deputy Mayor Byrd in, please, Seamus. And our next item from the Public Works Environmental Services Manager, Jeff, will be the parking bylaw update. Great.
Thanks again, Mayor. Shannon, my emotional support bylaw person today is Shannon. So again, these bylaws, particularly parking, and they're a living, breathing document. And typically when you see an update like this, it's because we've had issues that we can't enforce, or and staff feels that they are legitimate issues and need to be dealt with. Not a huge amount of drastic changes, but some significant enough changes that we thought we would open it up again. So off the hop, the winter operations timeline adjustment. It was kind of a give take relationship, because we removed the timelines in number 2 of most of the timing and the hours of the winter bylaw. I remember when we did this almost 15 years ago, we were just kind of using it as a starting point, and a lot of people have a timeline. What we found within the first few years of it, that the timing didn't work. I mean, it doesn't always snow with those hours, and it just it didn't work for our operational needs. And then you're kind of handcuffed because you've set a timeline and somebody's parked on the road and there's nothing you can do about it. So we took the opportunity to remove the timing off of it, but we also took the opportunity to shorten the window of it. So the original wording was October 15th to May 15th. So we actually shortened that up from November 1st to April 30th, which is a little more realistic of our winter operations. So when you're impacting the no parking, it actually shortened the window. There is no parking for the winter scope. So that's kind of the first big change. The next one was the actual prohibited parking areas. Just some basic housekeeping off the hop, with Elm Street from King Street to 44 Elm. We just amended it to no parking on either side. It was noted that it's activated during the Norwood Fall Fair. We've all saw those streets in the fair time, and it's a tough one, even if there's one side parking. So just tidy that up a little bit, and no parking on either side. The additions of Cedar Street, no parking on either side. Legion Street, the same, as well as Wellington Street. Everything else, Alma Street, the same. There was really no good landmark to go by on Alma Street, so we picked an address. So feel free to check it out where exactly it is. There's really not much to go by. It's just where the boulevard really changes on Alma Street. There's just no room for parking, so that's what we were using and looking at there on Elm Street. Again, Bird Street at the road allowance. There's a lot of parking, kind of there is a right of way. You can see the hydro easement does go out to the 8th line there, and that is a municipal right of way. I know we dealt with it being gated before, and currently we're dealing with a lot of people parking in it. It is a great access point for emergency services as need be. So just as well as tidy that up. And actually River Road, just surfaced about a week and a half ago, and it was a very valid point. A lot of people park on River Road in that section, particularly around the park by the campground and whatnot, and some people are having problems getting accessing their driveways and seeing to get out because of standing vehicles, and there's no shoulder, so there really should be no parking on River Road either, so the timing was good for that one. Again, that kind of sums it up. You'll see this one probably come back every few years, just as we run into the snags or hurdles that we need to deal with, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, councilors? None? Okay, thank you, Jeff. And I'll state the recommended motion for this, that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report for information, and further that council approves the amendments to the regulations of traffic and parking bylaws as outlined in bylaw 2025, section 33. Mover, Councilor Ward, Deputy Mayor Burt, all in favor? Motion is carried. Great, thank you. Moving along, Seamus McDougall, Manager of Community Center Parks and Facilities. Seamus, yeah.
Thank you, through your mayor. So this staff reports a tender for the replacement of our portion of the 31 King Street roof, which is the former medical center. So recommendation, council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood receives this report regarding the request for tender results for 31 King Street roof for information. And further that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood awards RFT 2025-04 to On-Time Roofing for completion of the project with shingles. So Friday, June 6th, at about 2:00, staff opened the tenders. 3 people asked for tenders, 3 people were the ones that bid. On-Time Roofing, Northern Exposure and Repairs, and AGC and Associates Inc. So upon reviewing the submission, staff determined all 3 bidders met their criteria outlined in the tender, and the details of each bidder as follows. So AGC and Associates Inc. were from Trenton, came in at $24,040. Northern Exposure and Repairs, which is Norwood Havelock, they came in at $30,600.28. On-Time Roofing, who's Norwood, is $25,000. In here, AGC was gonna be able to start the project in 1 to 2 weeks. Northern Exposure was gonna be July, which is not far away, that's the next Tuesday. And On-Time Roofing is immediately. Expected timeline, all were roughly a week while they're providing. So following a thorough review of the tenders and a comparative pricing analysis, staff completed their due diligence. And this process led to a well-informed conclusion upon which staff based their recommendation. So in the 2025 budget, there was $25,000 put in facilities for this job under capital. A portion of this budget will be satisfactory to cover the cost. Engagement, we engaged the executive assistant as well as the interim CAO. And in conclusion, township staff recommend awarding this 31 King Street roof replacement RFT 2025-04 to On-Time Roofing for installation. At this time, I'll take any questions.
Questions, councilors? Deputy Mayor Burt?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you, Seamus, for the report. It's nice to see that we got 3 tenders. Lately, we haven't been getting that many, so it's nice to see that. So and it's nice to see the tenders being fairly close. So there's less than, there's not very much money difference between On-Time Roofing and AGC. And my assumption after, looking up to where AGC was, given that difference, we're supporting a local business. So even though it's not the lowest tender, I assume that is some of the points that they're.
So through your mayor, yes, that was one of the few.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Councilor Hodge-Breeze.
Through your On-Time Roofing, they are the people who did the library roof.
Through your mayor, so yes, they've done the library roof, they did town hall roof too, right up there, the Reco.
So you've worked with them.
Correct.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you, Seamus, and I'll state the recommended motion that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood receives this report for information, and further the council awards the RTF 2025-04 to On-Time Roofing for completion of the project with shingles. Mover, Counselor Walsh. Counselor Hodge agrees. All in favor? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Seamus. Moving along to R7, our treasurer, Jordan Webb, please proceed.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. R7 is an amendment to the procurement and disposal policy.
Yes.
The amendment is in response to the US tariffs that were implemented earlier in the year. If you watch the news this weekend, there's obviously a lot of global uncertainty right now. We don't know what the future will bring. I was hoping these would pass at some point, but currently it doesn't look like that's gonna happen. So we're proposing the amendment, a few changes to two types of procurement. To include waiting for a local benefit, so Canadian product, Ontario product, Canadian businesses, Ontario businesses. So from the competitive purchases standpoint, so tenders, RFPs, RFQs, will give greater weighting to businesses that can attest to being an Ontario business, a Canadian business, or a Canadian trade partner country. From a direct acquisition or non-competitive procurement standpoint, so these are situations where we pick the vendor directly, so if it's under 10,000, we can go out and choose Bob's Roofing. Or if we had a standard roofer in the township that we use through a contract, or a non-competitive procurement type of situation, that's what this would be. So in those situations, what we are suggesting in the amendment is that staff making the direct acquisitions must consider goods and services that are Canadian made or from Ontario, Canadian owned businesses. So before we go out and we procure a good or service, we're doing our due diligence to make sure that it is a Canadian product, Ontario product business, if that's the case. We're so small. I don't think from a financial standpoint, there's too big of an impact for this in these types of situations, but some of the vendors we're doing bigger projects with, they have increased costs, logistics, supply chain issues and getting stuff done and lead time delays, so we need to be aware of that. So from the financial implication standpoint, this amendment does potentially put us at risk for higher costs for goods and services if we are buying locally. We do have the potential for lead time issues. If everybody's doing the same thing that we are, we can't get a product, we can't get a service, we can't get something done in the time that we're hoping to do it. We also have increased staff time to identify locally made and or locally sold goods and services. You know, we may have our standard vendors that we're using. When we ask the staff to look into this, it might be additional time. I can't see it being a lot of additional time, but we wanted to mention it. But it also provides opportunities to promote economic development in the township and in Peterborough County. So we're in favor of that. The appendix essentially was provided by the county. So this aligns with the county, Deputy Mayor Burt and Mayor Wolford. I'm sure you're familiar with it. And do note there is a typo in section 1 of the appendix that we will correct after and have it changed to the township. So yeah, we're hoping we can get this approved to emphasize local businesses and respond to the tariffs. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them out.
Any questions of Jordan? None? Okay, thank you, Jordan, and the recommended motion is that the township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report for information. And further, that the council approves the amendment to the procurement and disposal policy with the inclusion of Appendix C. Councillor Ward, Deputy Mayor Burt, all in favor? Motion is carried. Moving along, our chief building official, planning coordinator, Ed Whitmore, you have the floor.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. EPH, is development Dora Park Phase 2. And they're looking at having the infrastructure assumption completed. And then they would be able to get their reserves or their securities back that are left over. Some of the background, 2016, we entered into a preliminary development agreement that covers our costs for peer reviews and legal. 2017, we entered into a development agreement, it's really a subdivision agreement with DPH Development Inc. for Norwood Park Phase 2. That had all the details listing the number of dwelling units and the streets and municipal blocks for this and that. And the financial securities that we needed. And then it also had the obligations for assumption and a 2-year warranty period after that. August 2023, the township agreed for final acceptance certificate to be issued. And that was dated for April the 11th, and that was the 24-month warranty period to be triggered. So April 11th, 2025. Done deal, all deficiencies have been corrected, everything was okay. Public Works and water wastewater didn't bring anything to our attention as far as those utilities for infrastructure. The 109 dwelling units, they were all completed, no outstanding deficiencies, they've all had occupancies. 99.9% all closed, if not 100%. The Norwood Park Phase 2 and the Phase 3 that's ongoing right now, all the streets were dedicated during the planning process. So all the names were accepted. In relation to the strategic plan, this is sustainability and achieving operational excellence. Financial implications, 109 dwelling units. They'll have annual tax revenues, they'll have water and wastewater revenues. And during the build out of this, we collected building permit fees and development charges. Building permit fees, water connection fees, wastewater connection fees. Through the engagement, we had Public Works, we had water, wastewater, treasurer, and LLF lawyers. They were the lawyers of the day back for these developments. So in conclusion, we recommend that council approves assuming Norwood Park Phase 2. The infrastructure as municipal assets, and that's for the water main services, services to the lot lines, sanitary mains and services for the laterals to the lot lines, storm infrastructure, sidewalks, street lights, streets. And there's a plan attached so you can see the DPH Phase 2. And it's a beautiful subdivision. If you ever drive through there, you'll see that it's probably one of the best in the entire county for sure. I like the way the streets are curved so that it's not exactly straight streets, and it gives a little bit of uniqueness to the subdivision. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ed. Questions, councilors? Deputy Mayor Bird?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you very much for the report, Ed. I just had a question. So, when it comes to the asset management plan, has that infrastructure been included in our plan, or does that now get added to it? I just wasn't sure what the process was there.
My assumption would be it would get added after we assumed it, but Jordan may be able to, or Jeff may be able to. Get more information.
Once, sorry, through you, Mayor.
Yes.
Once we've assumed it, it should get added to our inventory list and there.
Okay,
So it's not on there right now.
all right.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments? All right, thank you again, Ed. Council, the recommended motion is that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report for information. And further, the council directs staff to present the assumption bylaw, the Norwood Park Phase 2 during the bylaw portion of today's meeting. Councillor Walsh, Councillor Ward, all in favor? Motion is carried. Moving along to R3, Ed, you still have the floor. Rescinding a merger agreement.
Back again,
Never heard of it before.
this brown 10-acre parcel of land The deal went through back in 2003. Farm owner purchased the adjacent 10-acre parcel. They merged the properties together. 2023. The son wants to take over the farm part. Parents want to retain that 10-acre parcel and continue their little farm. The consent came to council, June 27th of 2023. We recommended approval of that severance to reestablish that 10-acre parcel. The county Peterborough Land Division, they approved that consent August 1st, 2023, and with the satisfaction to rezone the property to the satisfaction of the township. We brought a zoning bylaw amendment February 27th of 2024, and we rezoned the property to rural exception 14. And that allowed that, I think it's a custom sheep farm to continue being that. And those passed and no appeals, and it's a binding. The owner's solicitor went to the registry office to create the deed, separate these properties, and found out that there was a merger agreement already registered on title, and was told by the registry department they had to unmerge the property with an unmerger agreement. So that's what's before you today. The lawyer, their lawyer, prepared the unmerger agreement and a letter of direction asking us to do so. And so that should end this, complete it.
Any questions of Ed, councilors? Deputy Mayor
I
Burt?
just have one. So really, it's been 2 years. Is that normal to length of time to get that done from when it came to council last to today?
I think it was a complete snag and unexpected, because I've never heard of it before, an unmerger, merger agreement type of thing. Very
It seemed to
first one.
take quite a long time from when we first saw this to now to get completed. So
Yes,
it's just
Like
curious
we-
as to why that took 2 years.
through you, Mayor,
Yes.
we've had other properties where farm owners have sold off surplus dwellings and consolidated farms, and they used to be done through a merger agreement. When we brought forward one that I remember, and we unmerged these two farm parcels that were several, like a kilometer or two apart, because the land didn't produce as much as what they wanted, and so they wanted to sell it. That did not have to go through an unmerger agreement. So, but for some reason, it got caught this time, and it may be a one-off that we never. You'll see again, I don't know.
All right, thank you, Ed. The count, I'll read the motion that the council, the township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report for information. And further, that the council authorizes the mayor and clerk to execute the agreement to revoke the merger agreement between Brian Douglas Brown and Allison Garland Brown and the cooperation of the township of Asphodel-Norwood. Deputy Mayor Burt, seconder, Councilor Ward,
For the recorded vote, please.
recorded vote.
Thor, yes. Mayor Wilford.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burt. Councilor Hodge-Green. Yes. Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you. Council, now we'll move on to correspondence for action. What's council's wishes with respect to C8, Town of Caledon's resolution regarding illegal land use? Deputy Mayor Burt, motion to receive, seconder, Councilor Ward. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Municipality of Blue Water, Northern Health Travel Grant Program,
To receive.
motion to receive. Councilor Walsh, seconder. Any further comments on that? All in favor? Motion is carried. C10, Township of Black Matheson request for exemption to propose mandatory firefighter certificate requirements. These are the northern county ones, so I can see, or municipalities, I can see why they have some concerns.
To support the
Motion to support with comment. Councilor Ward. Go ahead.
Yeah, I spoke with the fire chief earlier and certainly we addressed this back in the fall, I think, to supporting something similar. So I think this is important. Come to our volunteer small fire departments that we need to use some common sense. So
Yes. Any further questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Town of Bradford West. Women Berries advocacy for increased support thresholds for Canadian veterans. Councilor Walsh,
Receiving support.
receive and support. Councilor Ward. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Support. Prince Edward County's advocacy to the federal government for disabled without poverty. Councillor Hodge Greaves.
With support.
Motion to support. Seconder. Councillor Walsh. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Moving right along. Council liaison reports. Does anybody have anything to bring forward? Councilor Walsh.
Yeah, just a reminder on behalf of the Business Advisory Committee that our second Asphodel-Norwood market is this Saturday. We are right now up to 10 vendors, which is great, so we're growing. We have signs around town promoting the event. We have a busker, no charge busker, coming for some entertainment promoting and potentially, not confirming it, but potentially have a food vendor that's gonna come out for breakfast food. Okay. And just secondly, that that our committee actually did participate with a tent at the homecoming picnic in Westwood on Sunday, just to kind of promote the Business Advisory Committee, so. It was a warm day.
Yes, it was. Deputy Member.
thank you for your library report. We had a very successful Name That Tune fundraiser. And for those of council who were there, thank you very much for attending. And it was extremely competitive. Over the top competitive. So it was interesting. We raised almost $900. So I think given the feedback, it will be an annual event. So
Good.
Thank you very much to our 3 young members of the board, Rebecca, Maddie, and Ashley, who did all the organizing and ran with it. So it's a very good night.
Good. Councillor Hodge Greaves.
Special Events Committee, they're on track for the Canada Day breakfast, which is July 1st between 8 and 11, and while supplies last. So, and thank you to those who volunteered to help. And so that's all on track. I attended last week or the week before a rural healthy democracy forum, which was put on by AMO and Roma. It was very interesting. I will send the links to Val to include in the minutes, I think, or do a separate one, but it was really interesting around democracy and how people who are less engaged in democracy, then they don't vote, and then they get more grumpy, and it's just this self-fulfilling cycle. So it's a lot that sort of thing, and some really, really interesting speakers around social connections and how people need to be with people, and that loneliness is now killing more people than smoking, which is interesting. And I've subsequently heard that in several other areas. So it was a lot of information. It was very interesting, and I said I'll send the links to Mel for inclusion, but it was, yeah, it was good and bad. Democracy is as we know, globally under threat, and in Ontario as well, there's increased harassment, there's increased instability, and it's how to raise the dialogue and how to engage and to increase voter turnout as well. That's all. Thank you.
Counselor Ward.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just an update. I want to thank on behalf of the Cultural Heritage Committee, everyone that came out and supported the homecoming picnic for the bicentennial near Robinson. It was a very warm day. We estimated about 300 people came, which is surprising because it was so warm. So I want to thank all of the organizations that helped the Asphodel-Norwood Library, the Westwood United Church, and all the other groups that we had an elder from Hiawatha. We had Joe Cowie come, and he did the sunrise service. So it was quite a day in Westwood. So I want to thank everyone and on to the next events.
Thank you, Counselor Ward. I can bring forward a bit of a budget thing for our OPP board. Each municipality pays $700 towards that board. I think it is, Jordan, is that the correct figure? 700 we pay to the board itself?
I think, sorry, through your mayor, I think the budget for this is 7,000.
7,000. Sorry, for the year.
Maybe closer to 8.
For the year. It works out to, for our administration in there at $700. There's where my $700 is coming from. Sorry, folks. With checking with other boards around, ours is quite low. You can see the amount of hours for the administrator that it doesn't add up, and through the county procurement, I could see them not really participating in this unless the funds went up. And at the board meeting, they all agreed that the fund should go up. Instead of $700 for those administration fees, it's $910, which is $210 more. That still puts us well below the other municipalities. Trent Hills is the closest, and their figure is up around 20-some thousand. So we're still below that. The board, it is moving and proceeding slowly ahead. It's the best way I can put it. It's a learning process as we go ahead with that board. But we have to do it. The provincial government made us do it. They did also get a safety grant, and that puts another officer in our area. I did tell them that I did appreciate the walking that the officers are doing around our municipality. They're doing it quite a bit frequently. I've had a lot of residents say so, and they like that there. Something else too, that Commander Chris Gaziano said to me was the Golden Helmets still want to come to Norwood, and we're trying to figure out a date, not fair weekend. Because it's just a no-go. I told him you can't do it fair weekend. And we would most likely have to get permission from the county to close from Highway 7 to Spring Street, say, and it would only be for an hour, hour and a half show. So it wouldn't be that long that section of street would be closed so that they could do their routine in that area. And residents would still be able to stand along the sidewalk and see the show that goes on. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just a question because you're on the police board. I did see new legislation about the July 1st. There's the new legislation about school zones.
Yes.
And it's going to be 24/7 for speed limits within a speed zone, within school zones. And there's a few other things that are coming. Was there any discussion at the board about that?
Not
How
a
it's being
whole-
implemented or anything like that?
No discussion at the board on that.
Okay.
No, there wasn't. And Councillor Ward, you did mention to me before about a couple boxes up there?
Down. They've been
Okay, because I did not see them in that time.
Yeah, there was two black boxes that were on the pole beside St. Paul's Crossing, the road crossing there. And then they've been taken down since then, but they were up for about 2 weeks. And so I thought maybe they were setting up for photo radar because of the new speed regulations.
Relations.
And that's why I was asking if there was anything coming forward from the police board that they may be putting,
Cameras up.
the cameras, the speed cameras up, of photo radar.
They would make money there on Highway 7. Just as long as that come to us, it wouldn't be too bad, but
Maybe they were doing a
that-
pilot or something.
yeah. It could have been black cats up too. I'm not 100% sure. All right, moving along to general business. Does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss? Counselor Walsh.
Yeah, actually, we discussed it when we were going through the consent agenda, so it's just in regard to that Bill 17. For what it's worth, I still think it's worth sending a letter to our provincial parliament and the Minister of Infrastructure just regarding Bill 17 and delayed DC charge payment, and the impact, that negative impact that's gonna have on cash flow.
It will. And you second that, Deputy Mayor Burt? Any further discussion on that? All in favor? That motion's carried. Any other general business? Deputy Mayor Burt?
Yeah, I just have one more, and it was brought up when we were discussing the emergency services. I would like to make a motion just to send correspondence to Bell Canada in regards to the connectivity and backup and emergency services. And needed and necessary line repairs / tree removal following the storms and to prevent reduced connectivity in future storms. I think anybody that drives around our township, and I'm sure others, there's trees still laying on the bell lines, and it doesn't look good. And obviously, you know, there a lot of the people or residents who use Bell landlines are older residents and they don't have cell service. So I think if we can send that off. And it's interesting, I'm on land division, and Bell is one of the companies we contact to see if there's any comments during land division process. And if we have to if they have to check in with us if it's okay, I think they need to be doing a little bit of work. So,
I agree. You'll second that?
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor? That motion's carried. The only thing in general business is I got a letter, I think all council got the letter about the disaster recovery assistance program through Ontario. And it's for small businesses, small farms, not-for-profit organizations that experienced uninsured property damage due to the ice storm. And you can get applications for that, and the deadline is October 31st, and you do have a copy of that in the office, is that correct, Mel?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so if anybody has to reach out. Counselor Walsh?
Through the mayor, should we do something through social media to try and make more
Push that out?
just to push it out to make people aware that it is that funding is, that maybe it's already been done?
Yes, through your mayor, it has been done and also sent to our business list as well.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Burt?
Yes, I just wanted to check. I got this email today, and I'm sure probably we all did, through the Ontario News. There's a Rural Ontario Development Program. They've just announced 20 million, so I just want to make sure staff is aware of it so that they can take a look to see if we can get any money from the government. And there is one of the funding streams is community infrastructure enhancement. So there's 4 different ones. So I just want to make sure that staff take a look at that. So.
All right. Counselor Ward?
Yeah, thank you for you. Just one more question. If I could ask Ed, I was just wondering if there's any update on the electric car, if we're in the progress or there's a report coming forward. If there's any update on that for council.
Great timing through you, Mayor. It should be on gov.deals today. And went through the process this morning. The bid luck will either be today or tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any
So
further?
put your bids in.
Get your bids in. Low kilometers. Any further discussion, councilors, general? Okay. We'll now be moving into closed session in accordance with section 239(2) E and B of the Municipal Act, and the time is 2:19. Council, may I get a motion instructing staff to That's after. So I need a motion to go into close, sorry. Councillor Hodge-Greaves. Councillor Walsh, all in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, we're now back to open session and the time is 3:40. We have no notice of motions today that I'm aware of.
Forgive me, do you want to get a motion to follow direction given and closed?
Okay, yes, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. Council, can I get a motion to instruct staff to follow with the direction that was given in the closed session? Councillor Hodge-Greaves, seconder, Councillor War, all in favor, motion is carried. And back to, we have no notice of motions today, Melanie, is that correct?
Correct, thank you.
All right, then we'll go ahead with the bylaws, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. That the bylaw to amend bylaw number 2017-05, being a bylaw for the regulation of traffic and parking on highways and roadways within the jurisdiction of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered 2025-33.
Councillor Walsh, Councillor Hodge-Greaves. All in favor? Motion is carried.
That the bylaw to amend bylaw 2019-46, being a bylaw respecting the procurement and disposal of goods and services for the Township of Asphodel-Norwood, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered 2025-34.
Deputy Mayor Burt, Councillor War, all in favor? Motion's carried.
That the bylaw to assume Norwood Park Phase 2, being the lands described on Plan 45M-250, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered 2025-35.
Councillor Hodge-Greaves, Councillor Walsh, all in favor? Motion's carried.
That the bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement, between Brian Douglas Brown and Allison Garland and the Corporation of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood be read a first, second, and third time and numbered 2025-36.
Deputy Mayor Burt, Councillor War, all in favor? Motion's carried.
That the bylaw to appoint a chief administrative officer for the Corporation of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood be read a first, second, and third time and numbered 2025-37.
Councillor Walsh. Deputy Mayor Burt, all in favor? Motion is carried.
And the confirming bylaw, that the bylaw to confirm the proceedings at the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood held June 24, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered 2025-38.
Councillor War, Councillor Hodge-Greaves, all in favor? Motion's carried. Council, you can see our schedule for future meetings. Any comments on any of them? No? May I get a motion for adjournment then, please? And the time is 3:43. Deputy Mayor Burt and Councillor Ward, all in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you.